This week, the shorelines and the jetties are holding nice reds all up and down the coast. And if you're venturing to some structure, the snapper bite is super strong.
Yep, and on the lakes, we're getting out early or fishing late, targeting docks and bridges for bass, crappie, and more here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Our captains and guides are taking us throughout the state, helping us navigate these summer temps fishing mostly early and later in the day. Right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Brie. In order to beat the heat, you got to get up early, or you're going to wait until after it rains if you're lucky enough, and then you can go out in the evening time. Some of that nighttime bite can really be strong.
And it's fun. All right, well, we couldn't do any of this without our workbench wonder over yonder, and that is Dave Farrell. Dave, what do you have planned for us this week?
Well, we're going to talk, me and Rick are going to talk a little bit about which baits to choose when you're chasing redfish in different parts of the water column, from the bays and estuaries up into the jetties and offshore, even into the surf. So we're going to talk about catching redfish in all those different places.
Perfect. Well, I know Rick's going to have something to say about that, aren't you?
Hope so.
Yeah.
Just a little
Sounds
bit.
like to me I'm going to be doing all the talking. Dave stealing money like usual.
Well, he's good at it. But getting down to business, we're all about the bass in the Startron Middle Fresh region on Toledo Bend. And Richland Chambers and Matt Loescher is also giving us the recent inside scoop on Sam Rayburn. Go for it, Matt.
All right, Brie. Yeah, we're going to spend all our time on the largemouth bass this week because we've got some big news coming up on Sam Rayburn. But I'm going to start out first with Toledo Bend. The water level here continues to fall slowly and steadily like it normally does this time of the year. It's pretty standard stuff. The water's about 2.5 feet below full level now, and the temperature is running that 88 to up to 92 range. Pretty stinking hot. The falling water has a lot of the fish setting up out on the ends of the point and at the mouth of the drains in about 10 to 25 feet of water. You'll see them schooling a little bit now and then, but mostly sitting down there toward the bottom. The bite is certainly still best early in the morning and then late in the evening, and most of the biggest fish are actually being caught overnight, so that nighttime bite's definitely good. There have been some real nice ones caught at night lately, even up to 10 pounds, so definitely some big fish being caught. So just find a way to beat the heat and you can still catch good ones. The best baits have been that Bass Assassin tap-out worm in the 6-inch model, and that plum apple color has been really good, and then watermelon red has also been working well. Spoons have also been effective for chasing the ones that are kind of on the shad more. You can see those fish underneath those schools of shad and drop that spoon down to them, and they'll bite that. And we've got a photo for you here of young Jack with a nice bass there and a big smile to go with it. And you can see there where that bass ate that Bass Assassin worm, getting the job done. Now we're going to move over to Richland Chambers. Mr. Thurman Selman reports a tough bite there on Chambers this week. He's kept it pretty short and sweet. He said there's just not a whole lot going on, but you can still get out there and catch a few. He says the lake's come down a little bit more. It's about 1.2 feet below pool now, and it's hanging around 90 degrees. He says the fish he's catching are coming on the 11-inch Bass Assassin worm in the green pumpkin color, and it's all about those shady docks and creek channels where those fish are trying to hide from the heat. Now, getting into this big news at Sam Rayburn. There's a lot of rumor going on around right now about a drawdown, and that is a legitimate thing. That's not just rumor. The Corps of Engineers has released a statement saying that they anticipate a drawdown to the 158 mean sea level, which is about 6.4 feet below the normal full lake level. The reason for that drawdown is to make some repairs on the dam. The length of time that it will be at that level or maybe even below is still uncertain. There's just a lot of variables that will control that, including rainfall once the repairs are completed, because just because they get the work done doesn't mean they can just rise the lake, right? They still have to have the rainfall to get the lake to come back up. Now, personally, I get excited when I hear about a drawdown coming like this, because not only does it congregate the fish while it's drawn down, which makes for some really good fishing at times, but it also gives me an opportunity to do a lot of really good homework while it's down. I can learn a lot about what the bottom looks like in areas that are normally not exposed. You know, some of that stuff that might be really key, shallow water kind of places, maybe some shell beds or just some different types of bottom, whether it's clay or sand or rock or anything like that. Get to see some really cool stumps and stuff like that, or just anything different that you can't really, the things that are really tough to see with sonar under the water. It's a lot easier to find that stuff with when it's visible out of the water. It also gives you an opportunity to map out lanes where you can run the boat safely around the timber when the water comes back up, which is a big time saver if you don't have to do as much idling. So that's some really good stuff that you can take advantage of while that water level's down. Now, it also excites me because if you look back at the history of our lake in this part of the country, the best fishing tends to be in the years following a drawdown. That exposed shoreline gets a chance to grow a lot of great habitat like grass and willow trees, which really helps the fish when the water comes back up. And these man-made reservoirs really need that to happen, those cycles like that, to stay healthy and fertile. So, you know, we can get really scientific with all this and talk for hours about it, but we just don't have time for that. So I'm just going to leave it there and just want to make sure everybody realizes that it's not a terrible thing. There are some positives to the situation, and it can be great for fishing too. So get out there and do that homework while you're out there and enjoy it. As for what the fish are doing right now, look out on those points and humps near deep water because they're going to be pulling out with that water level coming down fast. And look for the heavy concentrations of shad around those areas. Carolina rigs and crankbaits are the go-to baits still. And if you find some grass that's near that deep water, that can still be good. So good luck out there. Y'all go have fun.
All right, Matt, thanks for starting us off this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspot from the Middle Fresh region. Matt says the bass are congregating in large schools near the deep water on Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn. Look for them in 10 to 25 feet near the grass and the timber. Try those bass assassin worms that have been the ticket for getting bites in the low light hours.
Hiding from that heat. They
Yep.
are. Now we're seeing trout in the surf along with outstanding triple tail and red snapper conditions in the Fish Bites Middle Coast region featuring Captain Bink Grimes. Let's go, Fish Bink.
Trout, they've been hanging around the jetties up and down that middle coast, probably because it's a little deeper water. Our water temps are 88, some 90-degree temperatures, and a lot of places it was 102 degrees here today. The Freeport and Port O'Connor and Port Aransas jetties have miles of granite. Those washouts, where those currents come through, they wall out holes, and those fish like to get in there and frequent that area. It sometimes has, if it's just a little temperature change, like 1 to 2 degrees, it's a magnet for them. Docks along the Colorado River have been a mainstay for vacationers who take the live shrimp or glow soft plastic and cast underneath the light. Since we've been going through this drought, these hot temperatures, our rivers are extra salty. There's beautiful green water. The pier anglers have really benefited from it at night, trying to beat the heat. Trout in East Bridge and Santo Bay are best on the grass flats on the incoming tide. That's around Port O'Connor. All those fish are over 2 pounds, and there's some that's been pushing 4 to 5 pounds. Of course, those fish are over 24 inches, and they have to be released. There's a lot of chicken on the chain bass assassins have been caught. A lot of morning glory as well, and topwaters have been barely sheep ups. Around Palacios, those deep reefs around the Sunken Shrimp Boat and Coon Island have produced trout on live shrimp under popping short. Half Moon Reef has been solid when the wind allows. Waders have scored on topwaters on the top of those shallow reefs. The surf continues to produce with light winds and green tides. The battle on the beach has been tougher on artificials, but those tots and live shrimp have caught fish in the first gut. Many of those anglers reported lots of sharks along the beach as well. Rockport anglers continue to target sand and grass humps with a flat on small topwaters and soft plastics. The nearby Port O'Connor jetty has been holding a lot of trout on live shrimp. There's a photo there of a nice trout pushing 5 pounds that was quickly released back to the deep shell of East Matagorda Bay.
Nice.
Triple tail action. Light winds have allowed the deep reaches of West Matagorda Bay, which is perfect for triple tail on all the buoys and any kind of structure with shade. The buoys and channel markers along the ICW near Palacios are running all the way to Port O'Connor. It's a potential hot spot for these pelagic. They come through that Port O'Connor jetty with that incoming tide every summer. There's been fish to 15 pounds lately, and including it, there's a 31-pounder caught about 2 weeks ago, which was just a beast. preferred method is rigging a live shrimp under a cork and varying the depth of the leader from 2 to 4 foot. You need a really good boat driver, because once that fish gets on there, he heads straight for that structure. You got to have that boat driver to pull him off of there. As soon as you feel the pressure, run for the shade and the structure, and they can wrap that line right around that pole, just like a good tetherball player. So, triple tail are excellent table fare, and just a really fun fight. Offshore, our water temperatures offshore have been in the upper 80s, sometimes reaching 90. Tides have been integral green, and we've been targeting red snapper before the season ends. Better fish have been about 40 miles out in about 80 foot of water, fished to 20 pounds, in Freeport. Guide Mike Siegel said the kingfish bite's been fair in state waters on sardines. Larger kings have been found in deeper water around the Gulf shrimp boats while they're trolling, and those red snapper are out there as well, the 20 pounds. And so that's kind of what's been going on out there. It's been a little rough this week, but next week it's supposed to calm down a little bit and get those seas down to 2 to 3 feet so those offshore guys can get back out there. But that's all for the Fish Bites Middle Coast region. Please keep erring on the side of conservation. We know that catch and release works. The bass guys have proven it for years. Just please give our trout a chance to grow, and grow.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Middle Coast region. Bink says the trout are good on the deep reefs in West Matagorda Bay on live shrimp. The triple tail action has been good on live shrimp around the buoys near Port O'Connor. And if you're red snapper fishing, it's good in 80 to 120 feet of water.
All right, the lower coast is showing off a variety of species swimming around its waters, coming right up. But first, Dave is flaunting a variety of ways, I think, to catch some reds at the workbench. Am I right or right?
Yep. Rick's gonna tell us all our secrets.
Red snapper Murphy.
Yeah. Well,
Here I'm
Ricky
coming in hot.
Red. Ricky Red's coming in hot.
They're not gonna have a chance now.
No way. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio Sunglasses. Blue light blocking. Radically clear lenses. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Well, Dave, we're here at the workbench. Going to talk a little bit about rigs and techniques. We're talking redfish, one of my favorite species.
Well, he's a lot of people's favorite species for several reasons. The main one being that he really likes to eat a lot of different things, and he's usually happy to do it. You know,
that's correct.
Sometimes you'll find some that will snip, put their nose up at you and run away and get spooked. But for the most part, if you find a bunch of redfish together, and if you leave them alone a little bit and don't spook them, you can catch quite a few of them out of a school. They like to eat and they do it very, readily. So, it only takes about a year for a redfish to get to be 11 inches long and weigh 1 pound. So they can grow. They grow fairly quickly once they, get established. Most of the ones that you see in the inside, in the flats and inside on the bays and stuff, they're under 3 years old. Once they get 3 years old, they reach their sexual maturity and they start going all out to sea. And then that's usually where they live most of the time. Those great big ones will live way out to sea and come back into the inlets and stuff to spawn and up into the surf areas in the winter times. When the big bull reds come through Texas, it's usually in the winter during the surf, during the storms and stuff. They really like to be in that stormy surf. But most of the time, we're going to be fishing them during now in the summer times. We're going to be fishing where they are right now is on the jetties and in the back bays. And so we use a lot of different tactics to go after them.
You're 100% correct. The gathering up that I believe that's going on at the jetties right now is part of that spawning thing, because they're all monster fish there at the jetties. So when you find them on the jetties, some guys love to fish artificials. Some guys like to fish with bait. So you've created a couple different knocker rigs, one with a big weight and a serious size hook, this Eagle Claw trocar hook.
If you're chasing those bigger redfish in the surf, the 10, 15, 20 pounders, even up from that, I think the world record's 59 pounds in Texas, and they, it's not unlikely that you'll catch a great big redfish. You're going to need something that's going to hold the weight. you don't really pick the hook just by the size of it. You pick it from how much drag you're going to be putting on it.
Correct.
And if you're going to be putting a lot of drag on a hook, you don't want a real thin circle hook. You want something substantial, a little thicker, that's going to take the weight of a big redfish with a lot of drag.
You're correct. That TK 197, it's going to get the job done.
Now, if you're fishing inside, you could get away with 20-pound leader and a little 4/0 circle hook like this. Most of the redfish you'll catch in the bay, you can catch on that.
Yeah, and if you can't find shrimp or you can't find the bait that you want, whether you use a cut bait or maybe a croaker or something like that, you can always use it an alternative. A chunk of fish bites works real well, works good on the jetty. It's going to start dissolving as soon as it hits the water. But the other thing that happens, Dave, is you were talking about their aggression. The cool part about how aggressive they are, they remind me of the mahis when they're on the bay.
Well, yeah, when they're like on a big school, they get very competitive.
So when Jeff Page and I went there in June, and we found them not necessarily on the jetty, but where the jetty and the land met. Where the jetty actually hit the land mass. What we did, because of the nature of how muddy the water is, we threw lipless crankbaits because they make a lot of noise. Now, obviously, a lipless crankbait is a search bait, no differently than a Johnson Gold Spoon. So you could throw either one of these, and you're going to catch the poo out of them. Because
there's been a million redfish caught on that Gold Spoon.
Absolutely. The other thing that you can certainly do is you can certainly make noise-making corks certainly have caught their fair share of redfish. Again, you can fish it cork under a shrimp under a cork. You can use artificials. You can use little paddle tails like this Bass Assassin Elite Shiner.
And that really lets you put the bait where you want it too, because but anywhere between 12 and 20 inches below the cork, you can float it right above the grass or right on the edge of the grass, whatever you want to do.
That's correct. And then on those days when you have not too high a wind, which sometimes happens in Texas, you can certainly throw your Berkeley Jaywalkers in the 100 or the 120, but now we've just introduced the Drift Walker, which the difference is on those super spooky fish, guess what? You don't make all that noise, and it gets a lot of bites.
And it has a nice little small profile, which I like for redfish because they have to come up and eat it with their mouth underneath.
You know what? It's just not fair. We never have enough time over here. We're going to have to buy an extra half hour.
I'm impressed, Dave. That was like 70-30. That was great. I'm proud of you. Amazing. All right, let's head on down the road to bait balls, shrimp boats, and billfish. Oh, my. Tell us how much fun we're all having this weekend, Chad.
No, we're having a great time. Speaking of this coming weekend, this coming Saturday is the ladies kingfish tournament. So we'll be out of South Padre Island. I'll be fishing out of Mansfield. We'll go to the weigh-in there Saturday. So if you guys are down at the island, go check it out. It's a good event. And I've been talking about it here the last few weeks, but August and September have people all time say, what's your favorite month? September's my favorite, August is second, so the fishing's been great. We're going to start inshore, the lower coast jetties. Everybody's talking about the jetties, and the reason why is because the fish are over there. So the redfish are showing up real early in the morning, in my opinion, real early, get out there early. And there's also some bait balls, which are showing up around the beachfront, also, which is going to start really taking off here pretty soon. So the redfish, like I said, along the lower coast, Port A, Port Mansfield, Padre Island, get out there early in the morning. To me, the bite seems to be better on an outgoing tide. Fish those washouts and those deeper holes, and position yourself in the range. So if you got a hole that you want to vertically jig on, get your Rodan trolling motor and anchor lock it right on top of the hole. If you're fishing one that you want to get in casting distance to, and you're throwing live bait or throwing some lures, that depends on what you're doing, then go anchor lock it out there. But it works huge for working those jetties out there. Live croakers working good, piggies, mullet, good action on that. You can also just upsize your Eagle Claw jig head. Instead of 1/8 ounce in the bay, go to 3/4 to 1 ounce. Get on top of that washout, like I said, anchor down on that trolling motor and just vertically jig it, and they'll beat around there. There's been some oversized reds in there. There's been some slot size also mixed in with that stuff. Key thing in this, remember to be patient, guys. These fish kind of seem to work up and down those jetties, inside, outside. They'll be moving around there feeding on that bait and stuff like that. And also, it's remember, the redfish is 3 per person, and that slot size is 20 to 28 inches. Moving to offshore, I'm going to talk about some offshore because it's really heating up out there. The offshore action's really picking up from state water snapper fishing. The blackfin tuna's going, the wahoo, dorado, billfish. You got your bottom fish like Warsaw grouper, other groupers. It's been really good. It's going to be really good now through, I'd say, mid-October normally. So state water snapper fishing, talk about it a bunch, but it's always a go-to because we got plenty of action down here, and they're great to eat. You get 4 per person in state waters. You can make drifts over structure right now in that 40 to 90 foot of range. You can vertically jig your Eagle Claw choker jig with a fish bite attached to it. These calmer conditions really picks the fishing up. You can take your Shallow Sport X3 offshore. I just did that the other day, and I use my Rodan trolling motor to do the same thing. Anchor lock right on top of the reef, and it just works great. It's a really game changer for reef fishing, especially out there or fishing the guts. And these trolling motors, they're even getting up to bigger boats now, 30 foot plus out there. So if you don't have one, if you're buying a boat or you're going to refit, definitely get one of these things on. I've got a 60-inch 36 volts on my X3, but these Rodan makes them up to 108 inches. So check them out. If you're out there trolling out deeper and things are slow and stuff like that, you want to do a little change of pace, do some deep dropping. I love doing that stuff. You can go deep drop a big bait for Warsaw grouper. If you're using some manual stuff, use a Penn International 80 wide or maybe even to 50 wide. But if not, use that hooker electric. That's what I do. I'm getting older now. I don't feel like cranking these big heavy suckers. So that hooker electric can let you do it manually or electric. And it'll be loaded up with some braid. Put a big bait on the bottom. Use a bigger Eagle Claw circle hook on that with about a 300-pound mono leader on that. Put about 3 to 5 pound lead weight on the bottom. Your leader up a little bit higher. Let that bait kind of swim through there. So anchor up, or you make some drifts with this stuff, but keep that bait right on the bottom. And the kicker is kind of keep that drag real light. Your hand on it. Pay attention. When you get a bite, you got to feed it a bit before you crank or set the hook. So feed them out there, feed them out there, feed them out there. Maybe count to 10, and then hook it up in that circle hook. Hook them in the jaw, and you'll be on there. Remember, if you do go Warsaw fishing, it's one fish per boat per day. Try not to overfish these things because they are an old fish, but they're great. So I got a picture of a good Warsaw here. A buddy of mine, Todd, and Amy Wynn and Tanner just landed.
Woo!
Wow.
It's a good one. So they're out there. So speaking about billfish, there've been some good numbers out there this time of year. They've been around Colt and Oasis Dome. Some Islanders are working really good with ballyhoo rigged on it for some billfish there. Troll full spread, 5 to 7 lines out there. Make sure to keep an eye on your lines, watch them. And if you get a good bite, and drop them back to them, especially if you get a white marlin going through there, they love running from bait to bait and knocking it down, so keep your eye on the baits. If you're using some internationals, which I like, use some 30 wide up to 50 wides that can pretty much handle anything out there, unless you hook a real monster blue, then you might need a little heavier like an 80. But it's really picking up now through mid-October, so pick your days and get out there and go take a look and go for some billfish action.
All right, thank you so much, Chad. It's time for us to take a look at the shallow sport boats hotspots from the Lower Coast region. Chad says inshore, the Lower Coast jetties are holding some redfish and some bait balls all along the beachfront. And then offshore, state water snapper remains good, and there's some blackfin tunas out there in the deeper shrimp boats. Good numbers of billfish out between the Colt and Nuisance Dome.
All right, well, if you're ready,
I'm ready.
All right, well, so is Yamaha with their Ready to Repower sales event. Take a look at this. Get up to 7 years warranty coverage on eligible new 150 to 425 HP outboards with the purchase of Siren 3 Pro, along with a $1,000 dealer rigging credit. And also receive an additional $1,000 dealer credit with the purchase of Bennett trim tabs. Or you can get 6 years warranty coverage and a $250 dealer rigging credit with eligible 50 to 115 HP models. Make sure you visit your local Yamaha dealer for more details. How about that?
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
we're headed north to the Upper Fresh and Front Runner Boats Upper Coast region, so get ready for some dock and jetty action. But before we go, make sure to scan that QR code on your screen for an all-access pass to our social media outlets where you can like and follow our Instagram and Facebook pages. Plus, you can see all new fishing adventures, tips, and reports. You better subscribe to that YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. And we have a brand new website to take a look at, so make sure you visit that and check us out. We'll be back.
All right.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. Tin Cup, Mountain Whiskey. Shallow Sport, the Texas legend. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. And Penn, let the battle begin.
All right, Rick, well, we're back, and you have something to tell us about
Yeah,
Skeeter?
you know what, Bree, my good buddy Ryan Rickert, he's one of the Skeeter Pro staff, and you know what? He was at one of the local shows and thought it would be really cool to do a walkthrough of the Skeeter of his choice.
Oh, let's take a look.
Hey guys, Captain Ryan Rickard here with Skeeter Boats. I want to talk to you today about the SX230 model of our bay boat line. Just going to give you a few things that I like about this boat, and you can check some other stuff about the boat later. Tons of storage in this boat. You got an anchor locker storage compartment up front. A lot of storage compartments right up front in the front deck area, including that you have some rod locker storage as well. There's definitely not a lack of storage and a lack of area on this boat to put things. The other thing I'll talk about real briefly is this compartment into the floor. This compartment in the floor you would want to use like as a cast net storage or something where maybe wet things would be that you don't want to combine with the areas that you want to stay dry. I do like the easy access into the console from the front and the rear. So you can get into this console from the front side and the rear side to give easy access to your batteries, your battery charger, or anything else that you may add in there. Our console's nice. It's got rod holders on each side, all of your gauges, all of your panel. Then you go to your leaning post live wells. Lots of live wells into this as well. There's a live well up front under the front seat. This one's got a leaning post live well. Never have too much bait for this boat. And then your rear live well as well. Jump seats on each side. Again, more storage. One on each side. And then two storage compartments here in the rear. The one really good thing I like about this boat is the draftability. 10 inches of draft in this boat, great for a bay boat. Also, unmatched as the Yamaha motors that we always have on these Skeeter bay boats. If you want to check one out, go check out your local Skeeter dealer and they'll hook you up on one of these boats.
So you know, Bree, some people might think that 3 live wells is a little excessive, but guess what? If you're fishing in Florida where they do a lot of live bait fishing, they'll fill up 3 of those live wells with pilchers so they can chum for redfish, snook, trout all day long.
More live wells, the better.
That's it.
Why not? All right, we're fishing before sunup, at sundown, and somewhere in between, but how and where we fish is key in the upper fresh region. So let's hear Mike McFarland's suggestions. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Bree. Hey, Captain.
Hey, bud.
Good to see you guys in a week. Can't wait to see you in a week.
Woo!
Yes,
He's
sir.
up Northeast Texas. Ray Hubbard with Joe Shipley. The bass fishing is pretty good there. Early mornings buzzbait bite and a walking topwater bite like the Berkeley Jaywalker, one of my favorites. But you want to use that around the marina walls and the jetties. Any of the jetties, those are producing some really nice fish real early, the first hour. After that, go to the drop shot rig. Use a Bass Assassin tap-out trick worm. I like the 4.5 inch, but the color watermelon or watermelon red around structures in 15 to 22 feet of water. And I'm telling you, that's the best bite we got going in all our lakes in Northeast Texas. There's a lot of fish being caught on that little drop shot rig. You can also try Carolina rig, 10.5 inch worms, green pumpkins, and shaky heads with the same trick worms, that tap-out worm, in the rock piles, rock bridges, and deep bridge pillars. Lake Possum Kingdom with Pete Hernandez, really the same report. I hate to give you the same report, but the same exact thing is happening. Fish the top water bite on the green dock lights an hour before daybreak, and you can catch a bunch of big fish. I think some really big 5-fish stacks have been caught that way. Once the sun's up, go to the ledges and the rock piles that are near those docks, 15 to 25 feet of water, 10 to 12 inch Texas rig worms like the Bass Assassin, Worm Assassin. My favorite colors are plum, plum apple, and the red shad green glitter. That's a really good one there. And then, of course, back to that nighttime bite, you can really fish the green lights all night long on Possum Kingdom. Lake Lavon with Kerry Thorne. The big bass bites slowed down there just a little bit with the increased temperatures. The nighttime fishing is offering a little bit better fishing. The early morning bite and evening bite are best. You want to run a chartreuse and white spinnerbait during the early morning hours, kind of along the concrete ripraps and rock where bait's running. And you also want to throw square bill crankbaits, 3 to 6 foot divers, and 12 to 15 foot divers. If you're not finding success to that with those baits, then later in the day, just go to a Carolina rig or a Texas rig plastic worm. Again, there's that same color, watermelon red, watermelon green. Those are really hard to beat. Lake Athens. Lake Athens has been producing some pretty good fishing. The bass are good on top waters, early and late, and in some days, they go all day long. I'm telling you, a couple years ago, I sat in one spot for 4 hours and threw the Berkeley bullet pop fish all day long. Same spot. They just rise when they blow up. You catch them and then they go back down. You wait till they come up again. If you're not catching them on top waters, kind of try fishing Texas rigs the wobbleheads with plastic worms, any creature bait on a Carolina rig. You kind of want to fish those colors again, watermelon red, watermelon candy, fish around the outside edges of the grass lines, points, and humps. Let's go ahead and take you on to some crappie fishing now. Crappie fishing on Levant has slowed down a bit. Carrie says that you can still catch them right now. It's 86 to 87 degrees, and the bite will get better when it gets lower, when it cools back down below the 8. But about 10 to 25 feet of water on the structure, and your best deal is live minnows. Jackie Wiggins, Lake Fork, he continues to fill limits every single day. He says it's about as steady and dependable as the summer can be, catching most of them on trees, brush, and laydowns in 18 to 32 feet of water. Some can be found a little bit more shallow, but the deep fish are better concentrations, and you'll catch more this time of the year by staying deep. Again, live minnows. The minnows are the deal. They are catching a few fish by using crappie jigs, little hair jigs, and soft plastics. But the minnows will yield better success. And here again is Jackie with a couple great pictures of days catching happy clients going home with them tasty fish.
Nice.
I'm hungry.
All right, what else you got for us?
Stripers and white bass, Levon, Kerry Thorne. He says look for them on the main lake points, 10 to 20 feet. Chartreuse and white lead slab jigs with once again, a marabou hair jig tied 18 inches above it. We'll catch 2 fish at a time. That's a lot of fun getting 2 fish going 2 different directions on one line. If you also can see them surfacing occasionally, he said right now. So have a 3.5 to 4 inch paddle tail swim bait ready for like a half ounce or 3/4 ounce for a long cast to those schooling fish when they do come up. And if you know what this is, it's called a bobo thumper. If you ever heard somebody's boat thumping like they got a hammer in the bottom of it, it's a really unique tool that stripers and white bass fishermen are using. It's called a bobo thumper. It's literally hammer in a box, and it makes a bunch of noise, and it will bring those white bass to you. So check out what a bobo thumper is.
All right, tell us about these 2 pictures, and then we got to go, Mike.
Okay.
Tell us.
Right.
Yep.
Cartwright says that the hybrids are schooling briefly on daylight. Swim baits, flutter spoons, the sand bass are 15 feet. Green slabs, same thing kind of there. If you'll tie a marabou jig about 18 inches above, you can double up.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. And Mike says that Ray Hubbard is offering great numbers of decent-sized largemouth bass, a simple drop shot rig with Bass Assassin 4.5 tap-out trick worm in colors watermelon and watermelon red are all you're going to need to catch a mess of nice fishes.
A mess of them. All right, get ready for schooling shad and slot reds, plus AJs and backaches for days in the front runner boats Upper Coast region this weekend with Captain Carl Weston. Get us on the fish, Carl.
Hey guys, let's talk about the fish that's chasing bait right now from the inside shorelines all the way out to the Gulf. Look, the bull reds are being caught from the pass over in Sabine all the way down to the end of the dang jetties over there in Galveston. So big schools of slot reds are moving into the oyster roost around Texas City Dike and out into those open bays. Like we've talked about, they're working the grassy shorelines over in Bolivar. That has been really good as well. And topwater has been money early morning and late evening, like we've talked about. Early morning's a little better, but early and late is when you want to go. Hard plastics and bone, chrome colors, these bright colors are doing really well. Live shrimp on a popping cork, live small croaker has been solid as well. Cut shad and squid will do the job on those bulls. And the shad are schooling around the jetties right now at the beachfront, so just grab your cast net, go out there and get some of that free bait. You can't beat that. Got a picture today of Manny with, we usually don't like to show a bunch of reds, but there's a big table full of reds.
Beautiful. Nice legal-sized fish. Beautiful.
They are. So let's bounce over and talk about some flounder again. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. The bite is still solid. I can't even explain it. With this water being this warm, those fish should have pushed out into deeper water, but they're still holding around the channel edges. Early morning once again. That incoming tide is a little better. Influx of fresh water with some bait is going to bring fish in. The scented soft plastics on a 1/4 ounce jig head has been top artificial bait, guys. Over at Seawolf Park, there's been some nice sized flounder along the rocks and pylons there, as always. Try some small finger mullet or a croaker on a Texas rig. Smaller fish are being caught out there in the open bays around the edges of the oyster reefs and the calm backwaters along the grass, like a 3-inch white club shrimp. is the top producer right now in the mornings. I have a picture today of Robert with a nice little flatty.
Nice.
Robert.
All right. What else you got? Let's go offshore, bub.
Let's go offshore and talk about some pain. Amberjack season, it's the second week, and the weather's been much better for an offshore trip right now. We've had lots of rain in the area, but much calmer seas. You know, bait is still an important part of any amberjack trip, although diamond jigs and large butterfly jigs catch plenty of these fish. Live bait is my go-to, number one. A big blue runner rigged on a 10 or 12-aught Trocar hook with about an 8-foot piece of diamond, 250-pound leader. That way, if you get in there, you get a little abrasion resistance on that fish if he gets wrapped up somewhere. I always use a 30 to 50 white pen to get these fish up out of the structure. You know, keep them out of those rig legs, get them back out of there before they break you off. That can be frustrating if you go too light and they constantly break off. And expensive, too, because gear's not cheap. So, you know, amberjack are usually in the middle water column. Really simple. If you're at 200 feet, go down about 100. Those fish you see at 100 feet, they're going to be usually amberjack. And so, like I said, you know, if they're alone, you'll pick and choose, you know, find them here and there. But usually if you drift structure, I'm sorry, today I can't talk. Maybe the heat's got my brain frying. If you're drifting this structure, try not to block the spots is what I was getting at. You know, we loved our new Rodan, but it's one of those things, if there's 4 or 5 boats, try not to get on the structure and just hog it because people get very upset. And we have a picture today of Danny with a nice little amberjack.
All right.
Nice, Danny.
So let's talk a little bit about some offshore stuff.
Okay, let's talk about Dorado. I know you like the tacos, and now strip season is in full swing. The schools of smaller Dorado have been hanging around those boats when they're anchored during the day. This has improved the chances of finding fish quickly. And, you know, Dorado are tough for us here, so this narrows it down. Get out there, find the shrimp boats about 65 miles out. Right now, there's some boats. There's some current breaks out. The water is beautiful right now. Bait's scattered and hiding in this debris and grass. It's a good idea to watch for the gulls right now along those little grass lines. They're broken, but the fish are there. The bait's there. You know, I like to troll an Islander in green and yellow about 6 to 8 knots. And we also run naked ballyhoo sometimes, like we talked before. I run it in the center of my spread about 75 foot behind my lure. It seems like we'll trick a big bull sometimes coming in and taking that bait. And this ain't a bull, but here's a picture of Tosh with a little chicken. It'll make a great taco today.
Look at Tosh. She's so photogenic.
Off-duty mermaid.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for sending us that picture of Natasha. We got something to talk about now, and we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Coast region. He says, inshore flounder fishing on the jetties on the incoming tide while tossing a white scented plastic on a 1/4-ounce jig head. Fight Club 3-inch fish bites is going to be a great choice. And then offshore, target amberjacks while dropping a large blue runner on structure. Set your rig with a 12-0 Trocar hook, put it through the dorsal fin, and drop it about halfway down to the bottom.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, let's go. The lower fresh region is boasting some impressive off-duty mermaid. Impressive schooling activity coming up next. But first, Dave Farrell has all of your Taco Marine new product activity going on at the workbench. Are you chilling?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing the whole thing from this seat, I think.
Sounds
from now
good.
on. I think the new products is going to be done
Right here?
Right there.
in a group.
Do we need to get like a Murphy-sized desk for you over
Well,
there?
I
think
A little
so.
short one?
Dave needs
I
some
think so.
friends, so we'll be back.
All right, looking good, Dave.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Fenwick, Feel Everything. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Island Lures, Tournament Tackle. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miro Lure. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. And Startron. Start, run, and store with Startron.
The Power Pole Anchor is an awesome tool while out on the water. Over the last 20 years, I would not have caught nearly as many fish without a power pole on the back of my boat. One of the biggest reasons a power pole helps you catch more fish is what happens as soon as you hook a fish. I always have my key fob in my hand while I'm fishing. That way, as soon as I hook up, I can double tap the down button and automatically deploy the anchors. This allows me time to fight the fish, land the fish, take a photo, and release the fish without drifting into the spot and ruin where that fish was holding. I have found that that fish was there for a reason. Whether it was structure, wind, current, or something, it was holding that fish in that general area. Most of the time, I can fire my next cast right into the same spot and catch more fish. Sometimes I like to change the lures, fan cast the area, and really work that spot where I caught the first fish. I then like to pick up the power poles just a bit and glide 20 to 30 feet forward, redeploy the power poles, and really work that area thoroughly. Doing this will increase your catches dramatically, and that's your power pole tip.
You know, Dave, I'm ready to troll the edge with Taco Marine's new products. Man, you got a good bench tonight, bub.
We do. We're going to start out over there with the Scoozy shoes there. That's the men's Del Marina shoe. They have that shoe in a size from a 4-year-old kid all the way up to a 15. So you don't have to worry about having your size. They got it.
And they also make it in a wide.
Yes, exactly. And it weighs an incredible 6.3 ounces. It's like half the weight of any other offshore shoe.
Nice.
Or water shoe even. You know, it's got that smooth stretch on the top and nice leather on there, an accent. It's a water resistant leather, and it's got that slip resistant inside the insole, which is removable. And it also is antimicrobial, and you can put it in the wash machine. You can put the whole thing in the wash machine if you want to. Super stretchy. It's a seamless design on the inside, so there's no seams on the back of your heel or anywhere else that can mess with you. It's just a super light, super comfortable shoe. If you were, wanting the perfect captain shoe, this is what you're looking for.
What I love about the Scoos is that you can certainly, they dry so much faster.
They dry incredibly fast, yes.
Where do we go, Scoozy?
ScoozyShoes.com.
Nice.
Next, we have the StarTron stabilizer, but StarTron has made a different product for all the year to make sure that your motor starts, runs, and you can store. And this is our store product right here, the stabilizer. And what the stabilizer has in it is a corrosion inhibitors inside, as well as the enzymes. The enzymes keep the fuel fresh up to 2 years. The corrosion inhibitors keep everything running right inside your engine. I mean, that's how engines fail, is when the oil breaks down and everything else. And what this does is it keeps the inside of your engine clean and corrosion free, and the fuel clean as well. That'll keep your fuel clean for 2 years, once you put it in there. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to store it for the winter. It can be for the summertime. It could be your lawnmowers. It could be anything that you're not using for just a little while. You put some of that in there, and when you're ready to start them back up, it's going to.
Perfect for storing your generators, your Harleys, anything with a metal tank is really good.
That's right. Starbright.com to get that.
All right, Dave, where are we going?
Next, we're going to get these Bass Assassins little P&Vs. These are the new colors. Really cool little lure here. It's a 3.5-inch tube style bait. It's great for trout, redfish, flounder. We were talking redfish earlier. This is a great, put this on a jig and bounce it through a thing of redfish you're going to get eat. It's got an erratic action because that tail just wiggles all over the place. And, it comes in a variety of colors and tail colors. We got the Slammin' Chicken is new, the Glow Chartreuse, the Plum, and the Chicken on a Chain. And there's just so many different color combinations as well. When you got all the tables.
All of them are certainly Texas colors.
Correct.
Designed, for that Texas market.
Right.
All right, what else we got? Where do we go? BassAssassin.com to check it out?
Yes, BassAssassin.com.
All right.
Last but not least, we got these Ocean Tamer bean bags. You saw me sitting in earlier.
Yes.
Great movable and storable seating. If you're on a center console boat or something like that, that doesn't have a whole lot of seating, you put a couple of these on there, and a lot of other people have a place to sit down. If it gets real rough, for your kids or the elderly people, a great place to sit because you're stable. Once you get in one of these chairs, you're not moving around. These are 100% marine grade, waterproof, UV resistant, and mildew resistant. I had one of these in my house a long time ago, and the kids just tried to destroy it and couldn't I mean, they're really, really tough. Fully customizable. You can put logos on there, boat names, fishing teams. They absorb the shock and the pounding for you when you're sitting down in them. They have these special premium closed cell beads inside that don't absorb water and won't get mildewy. And they have 2 big nylon straps on the bottom, so you can carry one on each shoulder. They're really, really light and just really cool. And you can hang them up, hose them off and hang them by those straps to dry or whatever you want to do.
I love the fact that when you're sitting in one, you can stretch your legs out.
Yes.
And you can kind of lean back and you can kind of just relax.
And you don't get pounded.
You're in a nap.
OceanTamer.com.
All right, good job over here tonight.
Stretch those legs out, Rick. All right, well, new products.
This far.
That far. New products continues over here. I have the Tin Cup Little Adventure Pack. This little baby is made with double-walled stainless steel, so it will stay insulated on your outdoor adventures. And you know what? It's the same Tin Cup whiskey without the glass. Count me in. I'm taking this with me. All right, now back to the reports. Quality, quantity, and everything in between lies in the lower Fresh region on Lake Falcon, Choke Canyon, Bastrop, Travis, and LBJ. So Matt, guide us to the fish.
All right, let's get this thing started talking down here where it's nice and warm these days. The Falcon Lake bass are giving you a couple of options right now. If you're just looking for numbers, concentrate your efforts on the shallow main lake points with rock on them. You throw small crankbaits up there. There's been a massive tilapia hatch, and there's a ton of food up there, so there's a lot of little small fish concentrated up shallow on those points. I definitely spend most of my time looking for Falcon specials. The big ones will be found out on the main lake, rock structure and 12 to 20 feet of water. Stand-up heads and Texas rigs have been my best producers lately. Also, some fish beginning to show up in the man-made brush piles. That's the other pattern that's playing big. Texas rig big worms are their food of choice. Plum apple or blue fleck are my go-to colors. Mike Bates sent me a report from Choke Canyon. He's had better numbers this week, up to 40 fish by noon on his half-day trips. The majority of them are 2 to 3 pounders with an occasional 6-pounder thrown in. Early morning bite has definitely been best. Really good topwater bite this week. He said it's even ramped up from the last couple of weeks. Catching them on just about every type of topwater lure there is, your jaywalkers, your choppos, and all that. Some days it lasts up to 9 o'clock before the sun gets too high. He's tried a little offshore this week with very little success. One of the things he's cautioning right now, from noon on, the heat really kicks in. You're going to stay out there, be sure and stay hydrated. Brian Cotter sent a report from around the Austin area. Lake Travis is fishing well. The main pattern you want to chase there in the mornings, there's fish are schooling in the marinas and in the deep coves. You want to throw jaywalkers or choppos in those schools. Also, the small swim baits, just throw it right into the surfacing area where they're busting shad, let it fall through them and slowly retrieve it when that small swim bait. You'll catch some of the bigger ones under them. Later, move on out to the deep ledges and points using shaky heads and jigs to get some consistent bigger bites. Those bass are mostly in about 20 feet of water out there on the rock drops. Lake Bastrop has had some good schooling activity. The main flats out there around the water intake on that side of the lake have been best. Walking baits or clear top waters with spinners have been the best way to get a bite. Later on, you want to work the grass, hydrilla with jerk shad or shallow cranks to get that occasional bigger bite. Lake LBJ is fishing good early in the mornings. Top waters around the docks and bulkheads have been doing well. As the sun gets up, though, you want to take your jig and skip it under those docks as far as you can back in the shade, and that could give you a big bite. A lot of what he's been doing lately, though, is avoiding the heat and fishing around the green lights at night out in front of those docks. You want to throw a small swim bait through the light, see if there's some active fish right in the middle of the light. Catch a lot of big ones that way. But the technique to catch the bigger ones around the edge, throw you a Texas rigged worm in the dark right outside the light, and you're going to pick up quite a few big ones. Got 3 pictures there. First one is one of Brian Cotter's customers with a big old Lake Travis fish. And the last 2 are a couple of my compadres with some Falcon specials.
Very nice.
Nice.
Food fish.
All right, bub, let's talk about white bass. Go quickly.
All right. The white bass and falcon have been plentiful and cooperative. They're located on most of the main lake points following the small bait around, but the biggest concentration is right out front of the gates where they're releasing water. That current has them piled up there, and they're busting shad, and it's an easy limit. Get you a spoon or a small swim bait and load the boat.
All right, bud, thank you for batting clean up for us all night long. You did a great job. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh hot spots. Matt says Lake Falcon white bass are plentiful and cooperative. They are located on the most main lake points following the bait. The biggest concentration is around the gates at the dam. The release current has been where the bait is piled up, and there's white bass ganged up because of the easy meal. Spoons or small swim baits will definitely load the boat, Brie.
Well, you know, Dave is...
We've lost Dave.
Here, help me up.
Dave's in his favorite spot. There he is. There we go. You're
I
so
know
warm
we could
over
get
there.
it. We could get you fired up and started
Felt
with
good.
one of these, Dave. What do you
Yeah,
think?
we can.
That thing is neat, isn't it?
What's so cool is to have this tin canister.
Yep,
All right.
and
That's
just throw it in
really
your bag, not worried
awesome.
about glass.
And you
Your
know what?
adventure awaits with the
Comes
whiskey.
with is shot glass.
And that's
Its own
It's
little shot
perfect.
That's enough to do the job.
It's
too.
ready to go.
You think that do?
I'm a whiskey girl, so this canteen actually
This is
makes
whiskey
me.
girl?
I'm a whiskey girl, so this makes me very happy.
Yeah, I'm a whiskey girl too.
All right, thanks
guys
for
did a
tuning
great job
in.
tonight.
So
Thank
did
you
you,
so
Rick. Get out there, stay hydrated, catch those fish. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is mine.